Welcome to a Podful of Saints, number 3, series 3. Well, that all goes nicely. It's myself, David Tavener, somewhere over there, got his winter warmers on, is Lee Wood.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Better keep you warm, Lee. And Jake Ellacott, still wearing his shirt he got from a few weeks back.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're all well.
Of course they're well. We've got a couple of goals to talk about from last Saturday.
What a treat.
Yes. Right, yeah, talking of last Saturday, this is being recorded on Thursday, the 26th of August 2021. So we're looking back to last Saturday's National League South game down at Meadowbank, where we took on Dorking. Well, having Dartford on the opening game was tough enough. Following up with an away game to Dorking was tough as well. We've seen your predictions for the game. I didn't quite come to fruition, but damn close. I don't know if you two were following the game at all, but maybe no great shocks at the final outcome.
No, not from my side. We knew it was going to be really, really tough. And by the sounds of it, it sounds like we played pretty well in spells, did fairly all right, didn't necessarily deserve to lose at the end. There was a couple of chances at the end that we probably should have got a goal from. And yeah, it's just another disappointing way to lose, isn't it? Another game with goals late on, and Ian Allenson must be pulling what's left of his hair out. I mean, he must be so annoyed about those two games, but and it's just, and the way to lose that third goal as well, obviously, easily lose it in midfield, and it's football at the end of the day, but very annoying.
You can show Ian Allenson how it's done, Jake.
I knew that was coming.
What about you, Lee?
I tell you what, it was sloppy. So, I mean, I went into the game thinking we had a really good chance. I was sort of buoyed by the fact that we played relatively well against Dartford. Their first goal was soft. I'm looking at the keeper to do a little bit better, perhaps. The thing for me is that we lost the game in midfield. They were winning all of the first battles, laying it off, and then feeding all of their wingers and feeding the runners. And it's simple football, really, but we just weren't equal to it. And I reiterate again what we said last week. We've got to have that tempo, and we just looked a bit leggy towards the end there. And as Jake said, Goddard gave it away very, very cheaply in a very dangerous place as well. But the main key issue for me was just our defence. They just didn't look as a unit. And they're all good players individually. I think Ian's now got to sort of work towards getting them to work together as a unit. Once he does that, I think we should be okay. Touch wood.
I won't read out a message I received, what somebody said about our defence during the week.
I think you should, Tabs. No, come on, listen, mate. We are a pod for the people. I think you should.
Well, we won't be doing show number 4 if I do. So I think they suggest it looks a bit suspect. It was in very many ways similar to the Dartford game. You said about leggy. We were leggy at the start. We were so slow to get going, just like we were against Dartford. But we came into it a lot quicker than we did the previous weekend. By half time, we were level. Marvellously one penalty, 8 out of 10, I reckon. And when Sean Jeffers put us ahead early in the second half, it was justified. And we maybe should have gone on. They got level. Sean was a threat whenever he got the ball close to goal, and their keeper made a couple of good saves to deny him. Where we were let down, I don't want to pick on one player, but Romeo Akinola, just get your shots on target. He had 2 shots, great positions, just wild slashed them. Now, they showed Matthew Briggs with their first goal. Get your shot on target and put it up to the keeper to save it. We know what a good keeper Michael Johnson is. He made a blooper event. He made a few last season, but he's still a very, very good goalkeeper. And Akinola should have put the same pressure on their keeper.
To be honest with you, though, Tavs, there's one word I've got down here, and it's wasteful. Absolutely wasteful. And I think Bender had a couple of long-range efforts as well, but you're absolutely right. Akinola is just, when you're in that position, you've got the goal at his mercy there. Just test the keeper. Test the keeper, and I think the one thing we missed on Saturday was a little bit of quality and composure in those situations.
Yeah. The goal that Michael Johnson conceded, Jake's an experienced goalkeeper, 5-a-side on a Wednesday night, if you want to laugh. as he dived, the ball dipped right in front of him, which is awful for a keeper. If it goes down there or if it goes straight at your feet when you're standing there, you can't do much about it. But he should have had that one. There's no two ways about it. But overall, it was, I thought, a more encouraging performance against Dartford, even though we could have got a point then as well. And you look at those two games, no points against the two of the top three teams possibly going to be in the league. Maybe not that big a surprise. It shows we're not going to be up in the upper echelons this season. But in both games, we've not been far away.
Can you really sort of say that, though, after sort of two games, bearing in mind that we were occupying top spot for the majority of last year? What have you seen in the two games that you've seen this season to suggest that we won't be challenging up now?
We're too leaky. What you said about midfield, totally agree there. We are struggling in midfield. We're not dominating in there at all. Something needs to be done there. Another ball winner and a ball player, I feel we need. For defence, he's got to look at it. James Colocci last season, that was his best season for us. I know it was only 20 games, but it was his best season. And I think we're missing him. We're missing certainly a figure like that in the centre of defence at the moment.
Yeah, I would only echo that. I think the only difference I see this season is the goals being conceded already. That defence is a huge issue. I think a lot of fans were really surprised by James's departure, and especially in the week or two following, we haven't seen anyone come in yet. I think we mentioned it on the last podcast that maybe Ian was hoping to bring someone in now that James is gone, but we haven't seen that yet, be it midfielder or a defender of some sort. I think we do desperately really need at least another body from the midfield and maybe even the defence at the minute, just to get a bit more strength in both of them. So, yeah, a lot to learn. Like you guys said, two tough games though. And of course, 2005, 2006, who won promotion having lost their first two games. So, pretty sure we're going to win the playoffs. There we go.
That's the spirit, Jacob. Well done, my friend.
Whatever he's drinking, Lee, it's stronger than what you're on.
It's not hard, mate, really.
Any word yet as to why Colocci went?
I mean, we haven't really heard anything at all, but it must still be as either playing reasons. I've been told that he was not going to play much this season, or the fact they just had falling out. I know Hemel were desperate for players. They've got about, I think, over 10 injured players in their squad now. They're desperate for anyone to come in. I suspect Colocci heard that he was going to get regular games at Hemel, even though they went on to lose 3-0 at the weekend against Braintree. But, I mean, surely just, hit for whatever reason, behind the scenes, something went on, and it just didn't fancy it.
Hemel have been desperate for players for years, Jake. It's nothing new.
And fans.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well done, Lee.
Hello, boys.
But looking at Dorking, I didn't feel they were as good as Dartford. But that said, they had 2 or 3 players out injured before the game, plus another one suspended. They lost 2 games in the first half on Saturday. So maybe it's too hard. It is a bit harsh to put the boot into them because they still won, even with that side at the end.
Yeah, exactly. They did the job at the end of the day. They played it up right to the end and got the result. And we can't say that, can we, sadly? But, that's the way it is.
It's only a game.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit of a surprise when we got there. They segregated us, which is bizarre. There were barely 30 supporters there. We had a really poor turnout, which is such a shame. It's a lovely town, Dorking. Do what Ian Hall's wife did halfway through the game, shoot off to Marks and Sparks.
That's what she said she did. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah, well, Ian would believe it, wouldn't he? But yeah, they segregated us. We had over 200 Dartford supporters down the park the week before. No need to segregate there. We spoke to someone, we believe he was their head steward. He had that air about him. I think arrogant's a word. Commanding. And he said, first of all, they'd been asked by the league to do it. Then we questioned him again. He went back a bit. He said, the league are bringing it in next season, so we thought we'd try it now. No one else I spoke to has heard anything about it. But even if the league do bring it in, isn't it utter nonsense at our level?
Yeah, apart from the very big games, and let's be honest, it's even been proven nonsense for a lot of the Saints Hemel games. We haven't really needed it over the last couple of years at all. And it's just absolutely bizarre, especially somewhere like Dorking. Like you say, the Saints were never going to bring a huge amount of fans. And to be segregated into one end is just absolutely bizarre. But then they've still got the fan zone, haven't they, outside their ground, open before kickoff, that fans can mull about together with and mix together. So just very strange scenario. And I think Dorking have certainly got ideas above their station in terms of grandeur and where they think they are probably going and where they are at the minute.
Them is fighting words, Jacob. Mate.
Yeah, we know they've grown a lot as a club, in the last 20 years, massively. But yeah, it is just absolutely ridiculous, and I don't see it coming in at this level in any time soon.
Lee?
Farcical, Tabs. I mean, if that is true, one of the main key aspects of why people come to non-league football is that they can change ends at half time, talk to the opposition fans, mingle and walk around and just get that atmosphere. You can't get that in the professional ground. The minute you sort of take that away, you are killing half of the vibe of non-league football in this country. And I hope if the league are genuinely looking at sort of doing it, they need to sort of rethink their tactics.
Of course, we had it in the Conference National that season. We went up, which was lunacy then, and it's still lunacy now. Still,
yeah, absolutely.
At least when we pack them in down the Hatfield Roads end of the season, they got a nice little bicycle shed to stand in. We've got other things to talk about, but we'll go on to the next couple of games. We've got 2 games in 3 days over the weekend. After 2 very tough games to start with, there's 2 games here. If you're going to do anything this season, challenge for a playoff position, you've got to be looking for 6 points.
Undoubtedly, the way that especially Welling have started the season, it's got to be honestly an easy 3 points on Saturday, I would say.
Oh no, don't use that word.
But no, seriously, you got to go into both of them, even though, I mean, like you said, Dave, there's a lot of positives from the defeat against Dorking. Strange saying that. I think Ian will be hopeful that he can go into Saturday against Welling with, well, I think he'll want 3 points, and I think he'll probably want 6 with Tonbridge as well. But you just never know with football. And yeah, but
the thing is, though, Welling aren't the team, although they aren't the team as what they once were. I think, the way that our defence is playing, if we have any aspirations, as Tabs said, what are you laughing for, Tabs? I'm trying to be, diplomatic here, mate. Basically, it's going to be a long afternoon. If we start doing some of the passes and start doing some of the things we were doing, especially at Dorking away, it's going to be a long afternoon, and we could come away there with a little bit of a hiding, to be honest with you, because we need to step it up now. These are 2 games. You would look at the calendar, say, right, okay, Dartford maybe, Dorking maybe. Then you've got Welling and Tunbridge. You are looking at those 2 games for maximum points, and anything less than that, if I'm honest, it's going to be a bit of a letdown.
Whatever you think of us defensively, the first 2 games, take a look at the Welling video against Hungerford Town. They lost 4-1 at home to them last Saturday. My Sunday league days, even we didn't defend that badly. They got undone the first 2 goals by long throws. They were both foul throws, but it don't seem to matter nowadays in the modern game. Their defending was comical. So, but Tom Bender should be getting in some exercise this week, of course.
long throw training all week.
Yeah.
No, but good. But we have those players though, Tabs. You know what I mean? We have the players to implement that, and we've now got to kick on. We can't change what sort of happened at Dorking and Dartford. Move on, look forward, and play to our strengths. We do have to shore up the defence. 1 or 2 goals ahead. I can't see Welling coming back from that, because I don't think they've got the striking power, even though they've got Dippo. But he always does come back and haunt us a little bit. But even so, we have the players now. We've got class players. We honestly have. Get our defence sorted out, and then we can progress and kick on our season from there.
Yeah, you mentioned Dippo Akinyemi there, former Saint in Welling's ranks. Their manager as well, Steve Lovell, had 1 game for us before Jake was born, and before you were watching as well, Lee. He played for the first 10 minutes. He got a strain of a hamstring or some sort of strain. Continued on till half time, took him off then, and that was the end of his St Albans City career, 45 minutes.
Thanks for coming, mate. Yeah, cheers.
Bodes well for Saturday.
Well, it bodes very well, doesn't it? Of course. Right, let's have a look at other events. We have a new director at Clarence Park. Who wants to go first on that one?
Yes, it's a director of football, and it's one of the many club legends, Dean Austin. I think Lee, you're shaking your head. I think Dave, you mentioned that you'd heard that something was coming down the last couple of weeks, and I think when you look at it now, I think it was quite obvious this was coming. It's Dean has been doing a good job with the academy. It has to be said. Over its first year, it's been getting progress, getting results, and like we mentioned last week, it's good to see some actual progress where lads can grow from the young levels through to the first team. And obviously, Dean, now as director of football, can oversee all of it. Now, interestingly, normal director of football would deal with everything like transfers, everything the first team manager deals with. But from what I've read in the Hearts ad and the club website, it seems specifically the youth mainly. So I presume that Ian is going to be left alone to still deal with most of the first team business. But yeah, interesting to see Dean come even more on board and his influence grow in the club.
It really shouldn't surprise you. I mean, to be honest with you, Dean Austin's been sniffing around the club even since Steve Cook was in charge. I'm not entirely sure that seat could get any hotter, to be honest with you. But what I would say is that I'm loving the appointment, and I'm loving the vision, and I'm loving the strategy in which he's now adopting. He's bringing all of his experience from youth and implementing it now. So there's an end goal there, because he's worked with harvesters. Once the kids get to a certain age, it's then their sort of choice to sort of go on. But now there's a clear vision, there's a clear pathway onto the first team. Ian's now more open to the idea of implementing these sort of teenagers into the first team squad. And it can only be beneficial. I'm loving the appointment, and I'm loving the positivity, because it's all about that, which is great. What I would say as well is that we lose so many quality players locally to other sides. I know that Dean mentioned the Watfords and Spurs and Arsenal stuff, but we've got good young players going to even places like London Coney and Coney Heath and playing for their first team as well. Boreham Wood had an academy at Oaklands who were our sponsor for like 20 odd years. How does that happen? But I think now with Dean coming in, implementing what he has to offer, it can only be beneficial for club and city as well.
I stayed in touch with Dean occasionally after he left us. Went to Southend, Tottenham, Crystal Palace, and God knows where after that. And I was on the phone to him once when I was, as a courier, I was driving through Stoke, just gone past Stoke's new ground, the Britannia Stadium, veers round to the right there, and you go past what's left of a Victoria ground, Stoke's old ground. And I said to Dean, you must have played there, didn't you? Sometime in your career. A very miserable voice came back, I got sent off there. Stoke had this, you won't remember him with that thing, a little Welsh winger, Mickey Thomas. He was a bit tricky, and Dean caught him twice, and he got sent off. But talking of Dean's charges, which is St Albans City B, which is surprising, as we haven't got an A side, is a surprising name for them. I saw them last week, which is 17th against Sandridge Rovers development side down the park. Wasn't a bad game to watch at all. Wasn't bad. Sandridge certainly had their chances, because it was 0-0 right through to the second half. But it's one thing that annoyed me, and it's something you touched on last week, Lee, about the modern game, the time wasting and this, that, and the other. So a couple of times, free kicks in the first half against us, we stood somebody on the ball. There was one incident, we had 3 players on the ball. Now, most of those players out there were 17, and I find it so disheartening to see youth players and youth football. It's not just us, it's everywhere, don't get me wrong. And is it being coached into them by the schools, their parents, their coaches now? Or is it just from watching those idiots in the Premier League on TV?
Well, ask him, mate. Like, if you've got his number, ask him. He'll be able to tell you. But I think that is creeping into the game, isn't it? And unfortunately, whether you like it or we like it, doesn't really matter, because that is now a part of the modern game. And in order to make ourselves competitive, maybe we have to adopt that sort of bow, sort of string to our bow, in order to sort of progress. But it is sad, honestly.
Now I've gone back to being a parade spectator, Lee. I want to see 90 minutes of football, not 86 minutes of somebody, opposition player standing on the ball, stopping the game.
When is the last time you paid to get into a football game, Tavs?
When was the last time?
Yeah.
Before Jake was born.
1976, we had 17 corners to their 4.
Why does Dave sound like Nocky?
Hello, boys.
I hope not. Anyway, I'll get well soon, Nocky. Hope you're all right.
Talking about paying, this coming Saturday against Welling, apparently you can pay on the gate with card, according to social media.
Lunacy. It will never catch on.
Well, there's
What
nothing
is
on the
this?
website last time I looked on there. Can't be true.
That's what
Now.
Instagram tells me. So
But
yeah.
what are you doing on Instagram? Well, hopefully soon.
You
then
don't
they
want to
go
know,
up-
mate. You're not seeing his feed, have you? Anyway,
Hopefully they ever go the whole hog and start taking money again, because I had another email about it at the weekend. Someone's not going to, they start taking money, and so why a club wants to turn money away is beyond me. But if they are taking cards, hopefully it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
my question to that is, sorry, but why are they emailing you? Why are they not emailing the club? What are you going to do about it apart from coming in and whinge?
Well, you know, Lee, your chances of getting a reply to an email from the club are 50-50 at best.
There we go. Anyway, moving on.
Is that like the 50-50 draw, or?
It's not,
Oh,
well, we didn't do it against Dartford or Dorking, so that's a 0 out of 50 at the moment. There you go. Right, let's have some predictions, shall we, for the weekend?
Why do you bother?
United.
Because we're doing so well, Jake, aren't we, mate?
Yeah,
These
we are.
predictions.
Same as the past 2 seasons, Lee. Nothing's changed.
Hey, come on, we're consistent if nothing else, Tabs.
Go on then.
I'll go with Welling first, and I'll go 3-1 Saints.
Easy.
It's a fool.
Yeah.
I'm going for a cheeky little 1-0 win for City.
Clean sheet.
So Dippo's not going to score.
He'll be sent off, mate.
And Tunbridge, who haven't got what's his name, Carl DeCosta this season, of course.
Oh, thank goodness for that. I'll go 2-1 Saints.
You swine. I'm going to go cheeky little 1-0 as well. Why not?
2 clean sheets.
Yeah, clean sheet frenzy, my friend. Yeah.
Who
Believe.
needs James Colocci? Don't need him.
Believe, mate. Believe.
Tunbridge has not been a fun hunting ground for us, so I have bad memories there.
I know what you were going to say then.
Right, this little podcast, we're just doing a short one here because very soon we've got a very special guest, our first special guest of the season, who you'll see in a few minutes once Jake presses some buttons.